Hello, and welcome to another episode of Chatter, a podcast from The Gist, with me, Josh Hamilton. My guest on today's show was a friend of mine, Chris Ammon. He is the chef at Lizum 1600, a hotel in the Austrian ski resort of Axamer Lizum, where I spend my winters. Now, I've been reading quite a lot about food and cooking over the past few months, and although I may not be the best cook in the world, I've always been fascinated by chefs and food, as long as I have been working in restaurants. So when Chris and I found ourselves discussing food and cooking one night, I knew I wanted to interview him for the podcast. We had a great conversation about his life with food, his life as a chef, and his inspiration for cooking, and some of his best tips for anyone wanting to become a cook or wanting to improve their cooking. If you haven't already and you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast and to our mailing list. And don't forget, my book, BREXIT, The Establishment Civil War, is now available for pre-order on Amazon. You'll find the link in the description below. So, until next... So without further ado, here's Chris Ammon. Right, we're live. Chris.
Hello.
Hi, this is going to be fun, I think, anyway.
I hope so. I hope it's going to be fun. It's first time I'm doing that kind of stuff, or first time that anyone is interested in my story, or whatever.
I was looking for someone to talk to about cooking, like I mentioned, for quite a while, and we were talking about it the other day, and it just seemed perfect, so, here we are. So, do you want to tell me what your first memory of cooking is?
Cool. My first memory of cooking.
Yeah, that doesn't have to be yours specifically.
In which way? Of course, my first memory was, of course, my mother's cooking, because she was the person who's giving me food to me, it's not. Let's say it's not my first memory of in a professional way. So it was my mother's cooking. So I have to say my mother is from India, and of course I mostly because my father is also in that industry. He used to work as a head waiter in a hotel very close to the place I live. And most time my mom was responsible for me because he had to work a lot, like every day, like 16, 17 hours. So let's say that it's like that. My first memory was my mother's cooking, of course, because and most of it was Indian food I grew up with.
Yeah, what do you remember her cooking all the time?
So let's say I think my very first impression I realized was like she made a fish curry. I was sitting on the floor and watching her preparing a fish curry, and I just remember the smell of it and how she was standing there and preparing this curry. Yeah,
was that?
That's the memory. Maybe it's not my first memory of it, but that's the memory that still lasts.
Was that
I was still having?
Was that in Austria?
That was in Austria, yeah.
Okay.
Because I was born here.
You were born here.
I was born here. My father used to work on a ship as a wine steward in the 70s. So he got around the world quite a lot. So I think he has been in 50 states or something like that. So in that time, it was not common to travel a lot, because nowadays it's easier to travel. But in these days, it was the only way to travel, because the people didn't have that much money and that possibilities that you have right now. It was the only way to travel, to work maybe in a ship or an airplane or something like that. So he worked there, like, I think for 4 years on that ship, and somehow he got to India, and he met my mother's uncle, and he took him to his place, and there he met my mother and probably fell in love straight away. But it took a while to get her here, because we're still over 1 year just only in contact, writing letters. So yeah, then after a year or 2 years, he brought her here to Austria. Yeah.
I mean, that's got to like make quite a strong relationship to have dealt with like the distance, especially at the start.
It's just if you tell that kind of story nowadays, it's like impossible, to say someone, I'm waiting for you for like 1.5 years and just writing letters and just actually knowing nothing about you. That's it was a different time, because nowadays it's so easy to get in contact, keep in touch, and these things. And these days it was really tough to being in contact or being in touch, just writing letters. It's just like it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy.
Yeah, my best friend actually had probably the closest thing that modern people are ever going to get to that with the last. With quarantine, he'd met this girl and things were going well, and then all of a sudden it was lockdown and she was maybe 45 minutes away drive, but she was working in a house as an au pair, and she couldn't like go, they couldn't see each other in person, so they were just like getting to know each other on like Skype for 3 or 4 months. And he said that he thinks it was probably like really helpful to the relationship to have to be forced to just get to know each other by talking and like discovering each other that way. But back to cooking.
Yeah. We're not allowed to forget the important thing.
No. So like, when was the first time you cooked anything that you can remember? Well, the first time someone said,
let's say like this, I never thought I would cook ever. I just hated it. I hated it in school. I don't know. I didn't like it at all. So when you had the kind of high school, you need to had a like how you should say a housework or housekeeping lessons.
Yeah.
And there you had to work, or you had to cook, or you had to do some some hand working stuff, And I just hated it. I just didn't like it at all, because I couldn't imagine ever in that time, I was 13, 14, that I'm able ever to cook. I just hated it. So then I had to start with 15 my apprenticeship, and it was just, I didn't really know what to do. So my father was in the tourism industry, and he always said, if you go there, you will always have always have a work and always have a possibility to go to a foreign country, to go abroad. You have a lot of chances. So if you just go like for a plumber or something like this, you're stuck in this work for your lifetime, and there is you don't have that kind of possibilities, And so I just decided to go into the hospitality industry. So I started an apprenticeship as a waiter and as a cook. So I thought I was thinking about getting a manager or something like this of a hotel. So it's always good if you know both things. So I said, okay, I want to learn to being a waiter and being a chef in the hotel. So in that hotel, I had my apprenticeship. It was just terrible. Being a cooking, it was just terrible. It was horrible. Not that honorable if it is nowadays. I said no. I remember I just want to finish my apprenticeship, and I don't. This time a lot, because it just had such an impact. I did my apprenticeship because it was not nice at all. Because I didn't spend a lot of time. They were, let's say, like 1.5. Usually, I had to spend 2 years in the kitchen and 2 years in the service. Cockroaches but I refused. I have to say, it was an old hotel. I really refused to work in that. It was really that old hotel, but 1 year. The working conditions. I go for an apprentice were a year, or maybe it was a quarter of year, because I just learned. It was not respectful. So how it should be not done. Anything I saw that time. But it's and then, but I always, go back to my mother. I always knew what let's say, like what she had a good taste of food. So maybe that's why I also knew how has to taste that it is good. I always had an idea of good food. So I was really shy in that time to cook. I went to the army And there I had to cook for the how do you say, majors or something like that.
Generals.
The generals. I did my
commanders.
my 2 months of how do you say the things we say Grundausbildung. It's how should it what is it? You do 2 months. You had to at least overall you had to do 8 months in the army.
Yeah.
And
it's military service, we call it in English.
Exactly. And in I just spent it like 2 months to learn the basics, and then you got your work there in the army. So my work was cooking for the majors, and I had my boss was in that time. I didn't have my paper as a cook, because in that time I didn't felt like I'm able to make the paper. I was so I was not confident at all, because I said I don't know if I go there, can I do that? Will they pass me? I'm not sure, because I'm not good enough. And that guy, I have to really still thank him. He pushed me, because he said, okay, you don't have the paper, I bring you there, I help you, I kick your ass. So he kind of kicked my ass, and he trained with me, really. He got the how should I say, there is for the sag mal Prüfung in English, for exams.
Yeah.
There you have some formulas where you have the dishes, and he gone through with me all the dishes. So he prepared me for the final exam, and I did it. So I passed it straight, and I was really happy. I said, "Oh wow, that's cool." So then after the army, I started straight in a 5-star hotel as a waiter.
As a waiter,
yes.
Not as a cook.
No.
Okay.
I have to tell you the story.
Okay.
So I started as a waiter, and I was 20. So, but I still was hungry to learn, everything. And in that hotel, after 1 year, they got a new chef, and in that time he had, I don't know, like 17 points in Gomeo, and he was an asshole. I have to say straight away, he was a big asshole, but he was a great chef. And that's an important turn in my curriculum, because I saw him cooking, and I was blown away. And it's the first time I saw a guy cooking really with passion, with love, with the plates it was plated beautiful. I was just impressed. I was just blown away. And of course, you see then in that time, all the kitchen shows started with Jamie Oliver and that stuff. And then you got hungry, Oh, he said, "Oh wow, that's so cool, being a chef, and that's the greatest. It must be the greatest thing in the world." I felt like this in the moment. So I said to myself, "Oh, I have the chance, because I have all the 2 exams for being a waiter and for being a chef. I want to learn this. I want to go there. Doesn't matter how." So I somehow I asked him if I'm allowed. I was still working as a waiter. If I was allowed, it was a privilege to work for him in that time. So I just asked him, "Is it possible? I really like to help you one day in the kitchen." And he was really shocked. He said, "Well, but you're a waiter." But no, I really like to watch you. I would really like to help you. Can you show me some things? And then he said, "Yes, of course." And then I was working one evening with him, helping, looking, and he teach me some things. And then I said, "Oh, I really want to work for him in the kitchen, So, but I forgot what kind of asshole he is. So I worked a season for him in the kitchen. That opened the ways for me, It totally changed my mind.
You say you saw someone like cooking like with passion and like really enjoying it for the first time? Like, what was it about the way he like ran his kitchen or talked about his food?
Well,
like, what was it that made you see that he had that?
Maybe it's not only the passion, it was, maybe it, maybe more, it was like the status he had. He was a guy who was able to cook, and he was big in that hotel. And he could do whatever he wanted to do. I saw that and I said, oh, he can do whatever he wants to do. I want to get there. I also want to do whatever I want to do. That's the combination.
Yeah, you see a guy that a lot of people have respect for.
I saw a guy, he did what he loved or what he liked, and he was allowed to do whatever he wants to do. That's probably the biggest argument, for me to say, oh, I also want to get there because I also want to do whatever I want to do.
Was there like a time when you realized, or you started to really like fall in love with not just like, okay, you were watching this guy, what was his name?
It was Christoph Zangel, what his name.
Okay.
And of course I have to say, he was one of these guys. I actually had two more guys who had more impact afterwards. It was two French guys. One was Philippe. He had an Austrian restaurant. He had also he cooked by himself. He cooked alone. He cooked by himself 15 points in a Gummio. It's just amazing, One guy cooking 2 Hauben. It's amazing. But his business wasn't that well because it's in the higher class of food, it's really difficult to make money, because there's a lot of waste, and it's really difficult, really tough to say that you make a profitable business. And then he started to work in Ischgl and here in a hotel, and he asked me, "Oh, would you come?" And because I was still feeling like I'm not ready, I'm not finished. I still want to learn. And he said, "Come to me in my hotel," and then I worked also for him like a season. And
what age were you then? What age were you then?
What do you mean?
What age? How old? Wie alt?
Well, I was 23, 24.
23,
but
okay.
But I forgot to mention in that time I started my own business with my cousin and with my uncle.
Okay.
We did an Indian restaurant in Innsbruck. And that time I was 23.
Okay.
Yeah. 23. We started our own business, but I was allowed to impress myself. I have to thank my uncle and my cousin. I was allowed to explore myself because they let me work in the kitchen. And I was allowed to express myself, to define not style or just tried things, and I was allowed to work by myself, So that year was really important.
So you were running the kitchen in the restaurant
with my uncle. He taught me because I was totally because the plan was totally different. We just wanted to make an Indian restaurant with a lounge. That was our plan. And I said, okay, till we got the lounge, I helped my uncle in the kitchen. So that's probably the year a very profitable year for my
your development and learning.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and learning exactly.
Is that the time that you started to realize I'm going to be able to I would like to do this as a career, like for my life?
Yeah. That's definitely the time I realized I want to learn. I want to go far. I really like to do that.
Like, did you find that? So having worked in several different types of restaurants when I was younger, I've been in places where it's all about craft and presenting the perfect dish And I've worked in places that are about, okay, you're still trying to create something that's tasty, but it's about like numbers, like getting the dishes out. And it's like a really high paced, high pressure environment. Like, do you find you prefer that like buzz of like a really big, fast service? Like an evening where the kitchen doesn't stop and you're in your zone, you're in your flow, and you just like head down and you just do you know what I mean? You get into that, or do you prefer like taking your time over like creating something special?
I think it's a combination of both, because without making money, my job is senseless.
Yeah.
At all. What makes it a sense if you have a head chef and it's just a loss for your restaurant,
Yeah.
So it's just a combination of both. Just after all the years I doing this, I just got closer to a clean, good food. It doesn't have to be the weirdest combination to make a good food. I think the quality is just very important to me. It's the most important. But also to deliver the quantity, because it has to go hand in hand, quality and quantity. Without that, I will make a big loss in the company. So I just think about cooking a lot. I really like to read a lot about cooking. I'm still hungry to learn, still. I don't feel like that I'm finished. I just feel still like the apprentice that I started with 15. I'm not feeling like I'm that complete chef, So it's just funny, because I'm still hungry to learn and still trying to develop myself.
So if you had to explain to someone, say, like the 3 things that you have learned about cooking that are or the most important for you for cooking, that you think maybe people don't realize, like what the most important things about cooking are, because I don't know, you can just go into a shop, you can buy a cookbook and you get all these big complicated recipes and people don't know where to start. Like, what would be like the 3 things that you would tell people that they should, or that you would give advice to people who want to cook better or learn to cook or want to be a chef in the future?
3 advices. Whew.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. 3 things that I would advise to people to start cooking. Well, the first thing is you should really know that job is taking lots from you. Lots. So and you need to sacrifice a lot to get there. So, and if you say, okay, that's really what I really want to sacrifice time, to sacrifice friends, to sacrifice hobbies. I think to learn to sacrifice is the first lesson. And the most important lesson to me. And, well, the second thing is just, I think everyone is able to cook, everyone. There is no one I'm sure that I can teach anyone to come to me. I'm sure. Because, everyone has his own taste, everyone has his own memories with food and what food means to him, food is one of the most important things in our lives, And
I mean, you die without it.
Pardon?
You die without it.
Yeah. And so this second advice is, if you want to improve, you need to, well, I have to get a bit far. So if I can't answer these questions only like saying this and this.
No.
I have to say my most important person was Nico. He was a vegetarian guy. I used to work in Innsbruck.
Okay.
And he had running a restaurant. He just delivered in the beginning of his career, or in the beginning of this restaurant. It was called Chesniko. He was cooking only meat. And then he got he got disgusted by cooking meat.
Okay.
He started to eat vegetarian because he became fat and unhealthy, and he started, I have to change my life totally. I don't want to. So he started to eat vegetarian food and vegan food. And then he said, oh, why I'm still cooking meat? Because it's not my philosophy anymore. It's not my thing anymore. But the restaurant was running really good. So he took the risk to cook only fucking vegetarian and vegan food. He lost maybe 60% of his customers.
When was this?
That was like
2012. Okay.
Yeah. So he was changing the whole thing. He was just cooking vegetarian, vegan, and fair trade food on a very high level. In the end of his restaurant, he got, I think, 16 points, almost like 17 points, alone, mostly by himself. All the ideas was by himself. And
what do you mean by 16 or 17 points?
It's
not a language that most people are familiar with.
I'm sorry. There are the Michelin stars.
Yeah.
There are 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And then you have the Gumio. You're giving points.
Okay.
So, 4 hats is the maximum. And to get 1 hat is already, you have to be good. 2 hats is just amazing. Is really amazing. And then 3 and 4, it's just outstanding.
Yeah.
But he was running by himself a profitable small restaurant with 5 tables, 15 people, and it was running well. And I think the most important lesson he said to me was, when you cook, you need to feel food. You need to feel it. Because it's just what you're doing is just always, the passion is always an extension of your soul. If you can say like that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the most important thing, to feel food, to feel what you're working with, to feel a product, to understand your product. That's, I think, that's the one of the most important things he taught me. Yeah, so
sacrifice. You got to feel your food.
You get to understand and feel your food, your product, where it's coming from, what it is, and probably the third one is to be always hungry to learn. Never stand still. Never have that attitude that you think that you're the best and the greatest and you learned already everything. You never stop learning.
What is your favorite dish or favorite ingredients to work with? Maybe you don't have a specifically favorite dish that you like to cook, but there's a certain type of food you like to work with.
There are a lot of dishes, but let's say I'm dying for lasagna, for a good lasagna.
Good lasagna.
Sounds really weird, yeah. And last week my mother prepared, she's cooking a lot of vegetarian food. I'm still loving that kind of things. She made what was it, a chickpea pumpkin curry. It was so tasteful and it was so light, I also like not always heavy dishes. That we are getting served here in Austria, like Spätzle and that kind of things,
Yeah, it's rich
and rich and heavy, and I really like spices, Indian spices, they're so complex. There is so much to do. Because here we just know salt and pepper, mostly, and maybe cumin, rosemary. I mean, okay, that's it. But there are so many spices. I'm really into spices. I love spices.
Why do you think it is that the Austria and generally just they don't have a lot of spicy food, and or even just when someone starts cooking, I feel like the Indian spices and curry and food is very intimidating for people.
One thing that my friend Nico told me, I was in that time I was 26, and he was the guy who opened my mind most, and he said to me, listen, food is just stimulating, And I said, what is he talking? What are you talking? Food is stimulating? Is it like sex or what? Because sex is also stimulating. And I was thinking about it. I said, yeah, what's going on in your head, And you have to really... food has different structures in taste, different textures in his shape, in his taste. So you can see a person if he's just you can pick out or how do you say, you can discover if a certain person is simple through food. Yeah, if you just eats it like, or just having food like a car is having his, if you're going with your car to a petrol station and fill the tank, and that's not spending time with food. So if you just, how should I say, it's a bit. Can you repeat the question again? I got lost. I'm sorry.
No, this was fine. I was going to say, we were talking about your favorite dish or favorite ingredients.
Yeah, my favorite ingredients. There are so many Indian spices. I almost like cumin. I like star anise. I like the garam masala. Not only Indian spices. I also like all the Eastern cooking. Like Morocco, Arabian cooking. I like these stuffs really a lot. It's the most powerful and flavorful to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said that so say I'm sitting at home and listening to this podcast and saying, oh, okay, wow, I really do look at food like my fuel. It's like the petrol for my car. And you thought, okay, I really want to try and start to appreciate different flavors and try and better appreciate the food I'm tasting. Like, what would you say that you should do if you find that you want to try and appreciate the food more?
I mean, it's just taking your time. Just question what you got on your plate. What is it? What I'm eating right now? What is in there? Why is it in there? What does it taste like? What's going on with me if I eat it? It's just that's the important thing.
Just try and concentrate on what you're eating.
You don't have to do it always,
No.
I'm also like feeling like sometimes just filling my stomach, I'm happy to have just a Fleischkäse or something.
Yeah.
It makes me totally happy.
Yeah. I mean, but even then there's a certain flavor that you can appreciate to that.
Yeah, of course, you're just speaking out. Of course, you're taking the Fleischkäse, that good one,
Yeah.
Or you're just happy with, I'm also happy with a plate of Spätzle and a good goulash,
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just, sometimes it's just important to open your mind. What you're having on your plate. Where does it come from? Or you know what I mean.
So what would you say that most people, like, they misunderstand about cooking or being a chef? That most people think, okay, this, and it's completely not true.
I think that people who are not in the industry, they just think cooking is just fancy, Just wow, it's just it's so creative and it's so you can do whatever. It's not like that. It's a tough job. It's a really hard job. It's just cost you a lot of energy to do that. And most people who are never worked in that industry or never had to do with that industry, they don't know that. They just see the fancy things. They just see the ready plate, you know?
Yeah.
They just see maybe Gordon Ramsay cooking on his TV and they say, wow, it's so awesome when he's doing his own cooking and of course it is awesome. But it's such a long way to get there, you know? Yeah. It's not happening yesterday, in one day, you know? Yeah. Just that don't happen in one night to get there. Mm. So it's just the people don't know the sacrificing. That's what you have to do.
Okay.
You just can't read. You just don't get better just by reading books.
No.
You know, or recipes. You have to do that. You have to do it. You have to fail a lot to get there. You know, you have to do the dishes or the dish that you want to create or you want to cook. You have to fail a lot of time, you know, that you know, if I'm doing this and that, it's getting wrong. Mm. And then it's getting instinct. Then cooking is becoming more like an instinct, and that is what a good cook is. Mm. Not giving him a recipe and just say, okay, here is a recipe, just do it. That's not cooking.
So when you're planning, okay, so right now you're the head chef in the hotel in the ski resort where I work in winter. Mm-hmm. So when you have to plan like your week of or the next 2 weeks of what you're gonna make, like what is in your head, like what are you thinking about, and what's going on when you have to make those decisions?
It's most of them they're just freestyle, you know. I don't have I know I have my products.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy them.
Yeah.
I know I'm having a look my suppliers are coming. I talk with them, what they're having, what is probably selling out, or you know, I also have to look for the financials, you know, and then I just pick out the products which seem to myself good in quality, and then we are creating something. I'm just having that in my fridge, and then I'm speaking with my chef and say, okay, I have this and this and this. So what we are going to make? I'm not having like a 10 days plan or 1 week plan. Of course, the things are repeating because
there's things you can get.
Natural, you know, exactly, it's the things that you can get. But I am always trying to do something new. I'm just trying to involve also my chefs, that they are working for me. It's really important, you know. It's probably the most important thing that you're asking your opposite also. The things what you can do. Them also improving, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So say you had to teach like a cooking class.
Yeah.
What is lesson 1? What's the first thing you teach someone?
Well, the first thing is just probably cleaning.
Cleaning.
It's only clean chef is a good chef, you know. It's just I think the most important thing is organizing organization on your board, on your cutting board. You know how you organize yourself. That's the most important thing. The first lesson, well, if a 15-year-old boy or girl is coming, I just have to teach her how to keep clean, you know. That's the most important thing. Then you're well in organizing. That's the second thing that person needs to learn, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that makes more sense than maybe people would imagine. Like one of the things that used to always impress me so much.
And then, of course, if then in cooking, of course, it's to me it's always to cook a good broth. A simple broth.
Okay.
Or a scrambled egg.
Scrambled eggs.
Simple
okay, well then, what is your recipe for scrambled eggs?
Because then, well, it's just there is no. These are the things where you learn to feel, to understand. You know, good scrambled egg is not allowed to dry. It's not allowed to be liquid. You know, it's about the timing. It's about how long you stir it, how long to have the perfect consistency. Thank you for that. So I think a simple scrambled egg, you learn a lot out of that.
Okay.
So I think it's the first thing where you start to understand. It has to be like this, then it's good.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Or an omelette.
Yeah, you're not measuring exactly what you're putting in. You're tasting it as you go and say, okay.
Yeah, look, you just have a scrambled egg. It's just easy. You just have eggs and butter.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen people mess it up pretty badly.
That's just, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And almost with just 2 ingredients, you can make a great dish for breakfast.
Yeah.
You know, good scrambled egg makes you happy.
Yeah. Starts your day.
And just almost like 2 ingredients. Yeah, I mean, of course, salt and pepper and things, but the 2 main ingredients is just butter and eggs. That's it. That's a really basic thing. And yeah, as I said, it's just not teaching someone recipes. I think that's not the right way to teach someone. So it's just more about to understand food. Yeah.
Okay. So
it's like food is just like understanding people.
Yeah.
Everyone is different and everyone needs something else, you know?
Some go well together.
Some go well together.
Some make you sick when they're put together.
Exactly. It's just like that. Just like that. I think it's just about the feeling and the it's just about that.
Now you said that maybe 15 or 20 years ago that Gordon Ramsay and people like Jamie Oliver were really like you've mentioned Jamie Oliver to me before as well. What makes him stand out to you as the person that he might not have been the only one who changed the way people looked at cooking, but what is it about Jamie Oliver that makes you go okay?
It's just like that when I started my apprenticeship in the school, you had to work that shitty hat. You have to wear the shitty hat. You have to wear the shitty clothes, and I just felt so not comfortable in that. It was like in an army for me. And well, Jamie Oliver was the first wild guy you see, just with his long hair, blonde hair, totally cool, smashing food around, and how smooth and how cool it was. And that's the thing I said before about the guy I saw, or why I wanted to get there, that he was cooking and did whatever he wants to do. And the same impression I had with Jamie Oliver. Maybe a lot of people had the same impression from Jamie Oliver. That it is so cool to cook outside, and smashing, putting things however together, being a little bit messy, just, that was,
yeah,
that
get
was,
your hands dirty.
Get your hands dirty, being wild, being independent, whatever, I don't know how to say all the things. It was just not only the cooking, it was just the feeling that he tried, or the lifestyle that he. So I think he helped. He helped a lot. That cooking just got into the right light.
People saw it in a different way.
Saw it in a different way.
Okay,
exactly.
What's the difference between, okay, you're saying it's fun to watch Jamie Oliver be a little bit messy and free and have plenty of passion. Like, what was the difference between that and that first restaurant you worked in, where it was just everything was done, you know, wrong and or poorly, or what's the difference there between
just that I couldn't express myself at all, you know. I just had to do what I have to do. You know, it's always, you don't like to do things because you have to do them.
Yeah.
It's just getting more that it has to be like you're allowed to do that. And you're allowed to do that. You can, I don't know, it's just so, the first place I worked for, it was just, I had to do that. We had to deliver every day a lot of food, and it was horrible. It was just horrible. I didn't like it.
There was no love.
There was no love. There was no love. There was no one who taught me really what food is about.
Okay.
It was just about sending. Just gamma. Let's cook. Let's push. Let's make 100 of schnitzels, you know, and these things. Oh, it was just awful, really.
So, right, okay, the final two questions for you. Like, first, what do you think that cooking has taught you about either your life or just yourself?
As I said, yeah, it's so important that what I'm doing, I like what I'm doing, I love what I'm doing. So I'm happy with my job. I'm happy with my life. So it's worth to sacrifice something, you know, to get there. Maybe it's not only with cooking, it's with everything in life, you know. Sometimes it's really worth to sacrifice and go through really hard times, because in the end it will be good.
I mean, a lot of people they feel like they don't want to be a master of something anymore. You want to be a jack of all trades. You know, you want to know a little bit of everything. But in the past, I don't know, a few months, I've really started to realize the benefit of focusing like really on something and just, it doesn't, like, to the detriment of every other thing you're do. Okay, maybe not everything, but that you cut out lots of little things and like little extra stuff and maybe things you would have wanted to do because you want to spend time focused and work in, like, deeply working on something, and that you gain like a real appreciation for something because of that, because you're sacrificing other things for it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And it feels like it's even more worth it when the result comes. Because
exactly. You just I think it's the most beautiful thing that can happen to you, that you feel just somehow comfortable with the sacrificing and the suffering, you know, that, you know, oh, I'm doing that because I'm really loving it, I'm liking it, and in the end it's worth that I did it or I'm doing it. So as you said, it's with everything, you know, and it's so beautiful, the time that you can, because I will never forget working for Nico or working for these guys, you know, because even it was tough, it was totally beautiful. And I don't want to miss them. Not one day, not 1 hour, not 1 minute. Because that's what they made me now.
Yeah. Take every second you can.
Yeah, take every second you can.
Okay.
And it's like feeling so alive, you know. It's feeling so alive. It's beautiful.
So, last question. Why do women love chefs?
I don't know. I don't really know about that. I don't really know about that. What I don't know how to answer that question. Oh, it's so tough. Maybe they're the coolest because of that.
Yeah.
No, I don't know because it's, I don't know. Is it like that? I don't feel like that.
I mean, you know our colleague from Winter, Balázs. You know.
Oh, Balázs, yeah.
I watch women try his food and then just throw themselves at him. You know.
Yeah, love always goes through the stomach. So probably that's why.
Yeah.
As I said, if you a good dinner, or if you have a date and can make a good dinner and probably make a good scrambled egg on the next day, you're fine.
Okay. Well, that's a good note to finish on.
Yeah, it's important, you know. Just as I said, it's just like I'm doing a bit difficult with because probably in German I could answer the questions easier.
You're doing great.
It takes time, you know, because
don't worry, it's fine.
But as I said, it's the love goes through the stomach, and food is such an important thing in life. It's worth to eat good food. It is.
Well,
it's sharing, or like we had on my terrace.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
You know, to share a good glass of wine, even if it's done probably in a couple of minutes, but it doesn't matter. These minutes, they are so.
With such simple, some simple food with some vegetables in the oven, some good meat, nicely seasoned, some nice wine, and
that's it.
It makes for a better evening.
Yeah, exactly.
So if anyone wants to try Chris's food, he works in Lizum 1600, the hotel in Axamer Lizum. They do weddings in the summer and lots of amazing food in winter.
Yeah, and if I have time also, you know, you can come by to my house and we can sit on the terrace and enjoy the view and having a good food. So, yeah.
Well, thanks very much, Chris.
I hope I answered almost all your questions, Josh.
Yeah,
I did my best. You know, there is so much to tell, but that can be happening in like 1 hour. But I think I scratched a bit on the surface of my stories and my history. So
that was really cool.
I hope it was enough for you.
Yeah, it was great.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks so much for listening. If you haven't already and enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast and to our mailing list. And don't forget, my book, BREXIT, The Establishment Civil War, is now available for pre-order on Amazon. You'll find the link in the description below. Until next time, thanks for listening.